Hey everyone, my name is Brian Matiash. I am joined with my good friend Matt Kloskowski.
What's up, man?
What's going on? We are here, as you can see, on the set of Photoshop User TV, and Matt was really gracious enough to take part of this week's Perfect Inspiration, which I really do appreciate.
It's like a remote Perfect Inspiration.
It is. It's
You're
on
here
the
in
road.
Tampa.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the road.
We are actually here in Tampa. We're not in Portland, and this is actually the very first guest post, if you would, for a Perfect Inspiration. And this Perfect Inspiration actually makes a lot of sense for you to do. I'll just set things up, and then we'll talk about things that Matt will share how he processes. A few weeks ago, Matt was in town in Portland, and we were showing him Suite 7, and then afterwards we went out shooting at one of my favorite places in the Pacific Northwest. It's a place called Panther Creek Falls. We were with a few people. Yeah. Went midday, right?
Yeah, it was probably 2, 3, I mean 4
It was
o'clock.
not the best time.
No. Well, you know, I mean, in Portland, sometimes with the weather,
that's right,
it could be a great time to shoot waterfalls because every time I've been in Portland, it's raining.
Yep, and you get that overcast sky, flat light.
But
awesome.
not today.
Not today. Now is the perfect weather, except no clouds. And so Matt was visiting. It was staying in a hotel that was not anywhere near where we were. I drove, so Matt wasn't even driving. And where we went, Panther Creek Falls, not marked. You kind of have to know where you're going. So,
and I wasn't paying attention a lot either.
No. We were all talking, and why should you? You weren't driving. So when we got here, we got down to the falls. It was beautiful, but as you can see, not the best lighting conditions, right?
We could show them on the screen here. So this is the lighting that we had.
Yep.
Not great for waterfalls. You know, direct sunlight on the trees around it. It's contrasty. Hot spots all over. Hot spots all over.
Oh, look at those shadows, man, on the top left.
And then, deep dark shadows.
Yeah.
So bright spots over here, deep dark shadows over here, hot spots and dappled, speckled light all over. The waterfall does not make for the best waterfall photo.
No, and I don't care really who you are. You're not getting a good mask. Like, let's say Matt took 2 different exposures. You're not getting a good mask here. And given the amount of movement and everything, HDR wouldn't work here. Tone mapping would not look good here. So
no, because you just can't fix bad lighting.
No, you can't.
What it
you
comes
can't.
down to.
And you shouldn't really try to.
Yeah.
So I remember this because I thought you were crazy.
I put my camera away after after a few minutes.
That's kind of the crux of this episode is not only knowing what you want out of your scene, but doing what you have to do to get it, right? So, Matt, what did you want out of the scene?
I guess, I personally, I like shooting, I like waterfalls. Yeah. I think waterfalls are very pretty. I wanted the nice long exposure, which you need less light for that. Yeah. So I wanted a nice long exposure photo where I got that nice smooth silky water, and I just did not want, and you can look again on screen here, I just did not want all this distraction. I wanted to show the whole scene. I wanted to be able to show all this stuff around here because it's green. Yeah. It's beautiful. But I basically wanted everything else around it to be flat so that the waterfall was what stood out in the photo. Exactly.
That's the subject of your shot. So what did you have to do to get that?
So I got up the next morning. I didn't have to be there for sunrise, right? Because there's hills around there and everything like that. And so I knew sunrise. Sunrise happened at 6:30. I knew the sun would still never poke up above these hills before an hour after. So I got up. I got up. I don't know, 5:30 or so. It was a lot further away than I thought because we were talking when we went there the first time. We were all talking in the car. There was 4 of us, and we were just having a good time. I wasn't paying attention to the fact that it was an hour and a half away from my hotel. So I got up at 5:30. I drove an hour and a half to there, and it was interesting because I didn't pay attention. My GPS took me right to where it was, but it didn't look familiar. Right. What I thought I remembered wasn't what I remembered, and I drove past it. I ended up going about 10 minutes past it. Yep. my gas light comes on.
The perfect storm.
Yeah. My gas light comes on and says you're low on gas. You're way out. I mean, you're 45 minutes
from cell phone signal?
Anything. Yeah, there's no cell phone signal. You're 45 minutes from anything. And so I turn around, I start driving back, and I get back to my GPS. So I start looking around, and then I'm like, that kind of looks familiar. Yeah. So I stopped, and it all started to come to me. I didn't even know where the path was. Yeah. Because it's just you pull over on the side of the road, and I wasn't even sure where the path was. But then I kind of muddled my way around. The most interesting part about it was it wasn't death-defying to get to this. Right. You've been there, I've been there. But it's tricky. You can get hurt. There's about a 20-foot vertical rock wall that because you were with me and our buddy Brian, or the other Brian Bonham, because you guys were with me the day before, you showed me where to put my tripod, where to put my hands, and how to navigate down this vertical wall. So I knew how to the next day. But it's not death-defying, but it's not. You could get hurt. Yeah. You could definitely get hurt. So I made it down the wall. Here's the funny part about it. I made it down the wall. And once you get down the wall, there's a big, long hill to go down. Well, the day before it was dry. Well, this morning,
not so dry.
Moisture and everything like that. And so I'm just kind of, the hill's like this, and I'm kind of just sidestepping my way down the hill, and I hit something, and my feet just slide out, and I just start sliding down this hill. And I cracked the filter that was in my bag. I cracked my lens, not my lens, but my lens shade.
Oh, the hood?
I cracked the lens hood on it.
Yeah. Well, it could have, all things considered. So.
All that, but I knew the shot that I wanted, so.
And that is right there. So if you go back and forth even between the two, just switch back for a second, Matt, if you don't mind, to see. So that's the first shot. Now a slightly different vantage.
A little bit different.
From the bottom, though. But
here we go. Here we go.
There you go. So dappled light, beautiful, even light. It's so nice what you can do here. The tone is nice and even. You have a lot more flexibility here without worrying about having to blow out highlights.
Look at the depth that's inside of there. You see it so much. So, and it's not done. I mean, this is right out of the camera. Right. But
so do me a favor, just walk us through what you want to do here to get it to a finished state, to a showable state.
Okay. So the good part about this is there's not a lot. Yeah. Because I think
the scene speaks for itself.
I mean, it's a beautiful place. Like, how can you not take a great picture of it? So there's not a lot to do. First thing, I grab my eyedropper white balance here, and I kind of go over the water. I know the water is generally white-ish, so it appears gray. So whatever color cast there is to the photo will appear on the water. And so I'll just find a place. I don't want to click where it's really bright. I don't want to click up here where it's really dark. So I'll find someplace right in the middle and click on it. And it does what I had wanted to do to the photo, which was warm it. Yep. It warms the photo, and it adds a little bit more green if you look at the temperature and tint over here. So that's before. It had a cool feel before, after.
And this was with, just actually set it up, this was with a filter? Was there a filter on your?
No filter. I think it was early enough that, what's the, you can see the exposure on this one. F11, 1 second.
Perfect.
So early enough in the morning, I didn't need to use a neutral density filter to slow down the water.
Actually, really quickly though, just for everyone watching, take a note. That was only a second exposure. Look at the movement in the water. So, if Matt were to put on a 10-second filter, you'd just be adding shutter speed. You're still getting that beautiful effect. If anything, you'd lose those tendrils that you see on the screen.
Yeah. And that's tricky with waterfalls. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
Just because you can blur out the water to there. I see personally, I like it.
I love those tendrils. That's what
like
makes it gives it life.
Yeah, and if you had too long of an exposure, you would never see things. Tendrils, huh?
Tendrils.
Tendrils. I guess that's what they're called. You would never see those things because it would all blur out. Anyway, next thing I always do in Lightroom, whites and blacks, especially with something like this, because I know there should be a white point with the water. So I Option or Alt click on the white slider and I drag it to the right. Once I start to see something, see how everything went black?
Yep.
And once I start to see something, I know I got a white point, I pull back just a little.
Just until I don't want it to be,
just a couple specks.
Yep.
All right, and then I do the same thing, Option or Alt click on the black slider, everything turns white, I drag it this way. I'll usually go a little bit more on the blacks. I'm okay with shadows.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You don't want a whole lot of things to turn white, but I'm okay with shadows. And at this point, the difference should not be huge. Before, after.
Just clean.
Highlights, you can see I can control the water. All right, I kind of want to make them I want to make them stand out a little bit more. And then if you wanted to, you could open up those shadows just a little, but I'm not really gonna do too much of that. And maybe just crank my exposure just a hair. And I'll come back down to blacks just because I changed some things, but we're still pretty good there.
Nice.
So that's some of the basics I would do in Lightroom. There's two things I like to do to finish my images. All right, so we'll go to the photo menu. I'm going to come down here I'll go to Perfect Effects, because that's really the one that I use the most personally. Although I will start using Perfect Portrait more. There's a whole story behind that I'm sure we can tell one day. So anyway, but Perfect Effects is what I use most. I have two things that I like in it. I like the tonal contrast.
Oh yeah.
And I like the vignetting. So we'll jump over into there. And I'll go over on the left-hand side here, and we'll go down to contrast. And I'll scroll down to, I like turbo boost. That's kind of cool. I wish I could use turbo boost all the time because I would love to click on something called turbo boost.
Add some turbo boost.
Yeah. Kit, turbo boost now.
Run away, Michael.
All right. So there we go. So you can kind of see. It adds. I wish I could explain what it adds, but take a look here.
It adds crispiness.
But it's not like an over sharpening. It's a contrast. To me, it adds a depth. When you're standing in front of some place like this, it's a 3D experience. When you bring it onto the computer, it becomes flat. So to me, tonal contrast, it adds a depth to the image. So that's what I like about it. What I don't like is what it does to the water here. So I'll go grab my little masking brush up here, and I'm just going to paint. I want my water to be smooth, not contrasty.
That's why you did the long exposure to begin with.
Exactly. So I don't generally like what it does to water.
And this is important. You know, this is something I always try to talk about when I do these videos. Is Matt applied the effect, didn't take it at face value, didn't just like let it go at 100% everywhere. You control where you want the effect to apply.
All right, and then I would probably take my opacity down just a little bit. Again, I don't want this to be huge. I want it to be subtle, but before, after.
It just punches it up a bit.
Okay, and if I zoom in, you'll see it even more here. Before, after. Okay. All right, and then I'll come down here. I'm going to click Add. There's one more thing I want to add, and that is a vignette to it. And we'll go down here to vignettes. Is actually the vignettes ones are good. I mean, it'll darken the edges for you. You know, big softy blur. But I kind of like. It's under the vintage one. And if you scroll down here, you'll see here it's called Lomo Soft.
Oh, sure.
And so I kind of like Lomo Soft, and you'll see why in a second here. I'm of course going to reduce the opacity of it because it makes the edges too dark, but I like the softness that it adds around the edge and the bottom a little bit. It just kind of takes focus away from it, and of course I would paint away any softness that gets onto the waterfall and some of the edges that go around there. But you can see I'll turn that layer on and off here. I'll turn the effect stack. So that's before, that's after.
Just brings your eye to the middle
brings
of the
focus
frame.
in it. And that's pretty much it. I'll click Apply. It brings me back over into Lightroom. It's almost as if I jumped into Photoshop. I just jumped into another program, applied a couple of effects. I like the effects because I don't have to go through 10 layers and 6 blend modes and 3 filters to do it in Photoshop.
We do.
They're pretty much just one click. So this brings me back over here to Lightroom. What would I finish up with in Lightroom? I mean, personally, I would go to my adjustment brush and maybe just bring down the exposure a little bit and just kind of tone down the middle and maybe a couple of spots just along the bottom here.
Because the water is really your focal point, right?
And you know what? I'm toning it down. I mean, post-processing, these things are radioactive. When you're standing there, it's radioactive green. It's crazy.
It's bright. It's really bright.
You have to almost tone it down because I don't think people would actually think that that's real, how green it can really be. But that's pretty much it. And I always, whenever I'm done, I always kind of go down, whenever I make adjustments, just check the white and black points again.
Yeah, sometimes the stylization can do, bring out more for you. Absolutely. Exactly.
We could see there. And then finally, maybe finish it with just a little bit of sharpening, because we love sharp.
You see how Matt zooms in when he's sharpening? This is another thing. Always kind of zoom in when you're sharpening. Don't just look at a full screen view.
Yeah, and mask that a little bit, but we can even click that little toggle switch before the sharpening. After, it shouldn't be crazy sharpening.
No.
It's a fairly sharp to begin with, hopefully. So, but there you have it. So let's take a look. Let me go back to my original, and I'll hit the reset button. Okay. So I'll hit Shift Tab and the L key a couple of times. So that's what we started out with, and that's our final image.
Awesome.
Started out, final image.
Just the life kind of radiates out from that image. So, well, I really appreciate that, Matt. I love this, that you took the time for inspiration.
No problem, man.
I hope everyone out there.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure. You're always welcome back. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and look forward to seeing you guys next week for another episode of Perfect Inspiration.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.